I've often been told, and it's pretty accurate, that you can do things the hard way or the harder way. So looking into 2025, let's try and stick to just doing things the hard way this year. I'm Arthur Petropoulos, managing partner here at Hillview Partners. We're a middle market, lower middle market, M&A, capital advisory firm, investment banking firm, helping companies generating $1 million to $10 million a year in EBITDA or pre-tax earnings, sell their companies and secure capital. So in today's video, I want to quickly walk through 5 ways to make sure we get 2025 off to a good start. So in any business, and whether the objective is selling the company, whether the objective is finding capital, or whether the objective is just to continue forward in a profitable manner, these are 5 steps one can take when looking at the year ahead. And as we alluded to in the intro here, running a successful business is hard. Running an unsuccessful one is harder. And so always want to keep the momentum going in the right direction. And despite the challenges of running a successful business, continue to push in that direction. So item number 1 is defining objectives. Objectives, goals, these are the large scale directional things that you want to bring your business toward. And so we say to grow revenues, to grow profit, to increase our geographic coverage, to increase our product coverage. But they're somewhat amorphous, high level, generally kind of the glacier-like movements within a business, but you want to have those highlighted so that you know kind of which way you're directing the ship towards. Item number 2 is defining the targets. So this is getting a little bit more specific relative to what those objectives are. So if we said, okay, our goal is to increase revenues, well, the target is to increase revenues from $5 million to $8 million this year, from $50 million to $80 million this year. If it's headcount, hiring salespeople, we want to go from 20 people to 24 people in the first 6 months. Whatever it is, we want to have what the targets are. Item number 3 is defining the projections. And so if you say, okay, these are the targets, what will those targets create or yield for the business as it pertains to the broader objectives? The next item we want to define are the projections of the business. And so the projections will indicate progress towards the targets, which will indicate progress towards the goals. So you can see each one of these things kind of chunks up to the next level, if you will. And so if you're saying the target is to increase revenues for the business from $10 million of last year to $20 million for this year, what are the projections along the way to accomplish that? And so whether it's going to be each quarter we make $5 million of revenue, or if it's going to be increasing over time, but start to get into specificity relative to how that is going to come to be over the particular year. And so is it all going to happen at once? Is it going to lockstep each quarter similarly, or will it be a progressive or incremental goal? But again, that leads to understanding kind of the projections or the milestones along the way towards the targets, towards the goals. And as you can imagine, next step is going even more granular and saying, what are these steps? And so if we say we want to increase revenue, then we need to hit X amount of sales of whether it's client engagements for a consulting business, products that we sell if you're a manufacturing company, amount of product distributed if you're a distribution company, amount of software subscriptions, whatever it is, right? But what are the actual milestones to accomplishing those projections? If you can break them down into units of the candy bar that you sell, it again becomes even more definable. And as you can imagine, last step is define the inputs. So if you can think of all business as inputs and outputs, say what are the specific inputs that will, now going into this kind of Russian doll here, what are the inputs that will dictate the steps? What are the steps that will hit the projections? What are the projections that will yield the targets? What are the targets that will yield the outcomes, the objectives, the broader goals? And so, for instance, if the step is to sell 10 more engagements for a particular quarter, then if the inputs are how many emails we're going to send out, how many pieces of content we're going to create, how many billboards we're going to advertise on, how many phone calls we're going to make, how many meetings or conferences we're going to attend, whatever the thing is that you say, okay, what can I do today? That's the input, right? Pick up the phone, send the email, visit the client, whatever it is, or the prospective client, that's the input. So again, if we want to have a good 2025, everything that can be measured can be improved. And to start the year on an optimistic tone, hope is not a strategy. So let's define what the objectives are. And if the ultimate goal of the business is to sell or is to find capital, great. If it's just to keep growing the business in the right direction such that when you do determine that you want to find capital or sell the business, you're in an optimal position to do so, that's important. So to recap today, we'll go from, again, macro to micro, define the objectives of the broader goals, define the targets that need to be hit to do that, define the projections that will be the milestones towards those targets, define the steps that you need to do, the amount of product units, engagements, etc. necessary to hit those projections. And then lastly, define the inputs. What is the day-to-day activity that you can just do more of, that you can do better of to accomplish this, again, kind of compounding or accordion type structure, if you will. So again, we repeat it ad nauseum at our own firm, but we always say inputs, steps, projections, targets, goals. So that's the thought for today. Hope everyone's having a good new year. Hope the week's going well. Keep pushing forward. God bless. We'll see you next time.